What's up, everybody, and thank you for listening to Mastering the Mindset. My name is Dariusdotch, and I'm an actor, hip-hop artist, and fitness and life coach. And I'm here to personally help you train and improve your mindset so that you can, 1, become the best version of yourself mentally, and 2, gain focus and motivation to be able to take action and achieve the success in life that you want and deserve. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to my channel, and at the end of this episode, if you liked it, please share it with a friend or a loved one or someone who would benefit from hearing this message. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm ready to go on this journey with you, and that journey begins now. All right, and welcome back to another episode. I'm glad y'all are here today. I know I say this all the time, that I think this is a really important episode, and I do. Each time I say it, I mean it, and here we are again. I think this is a really good one for you to hear today. So let's talk about how you can stop comparing yourself to other people and how comparing yourself to other people is actually killing your joy. So look, we live in a world where we can see damn near everything somebody is doing at all times. And because we can, we start to compare. And I don't know about you, but I see this all the time. I see it happening everywhere. Somebody out there is comparing their body to somebody else's body because they started working out 5 weeks ago, and the person they compare themselves to has been working out for 5 years. Or somebody will compare their business to somebody else's business and how much success that they have or don't have when they only been running their business for 3 weeks, and this other person has been running their business for a decade. People compare their clothing and how this person has nice clothes and jewelry compared to what you have. They compare themselves to their friends going on trips and vacations, and they imagine how much money they must be making, and they look at their lives and feel like they don't live up to that. They look at people's relationships. That's a big one, right? They look at other people's relationships and see how happy they look and how it's going so good for them to be in that relationship. Maybe they compare their own relationship to that and think how that one looks way better than the one they have. Or maybe they're single and they compare that happiness and joy of actually being in a relationship compared to not. And the list goes on and on and on. And if you spend enough time on social media, I bet you compare yourself to other people. We just do it. And comparison by itself, it ain't necessarily a bad thing, right? Like the actual simple broken down form of comparison. So let's say, for instance, if you're crossing the street, you can compare how far you have to walk to get to the other side and compare how fast that car is coming to determine if you can make it in time. You can compare how much food is on your plate to the size of your stomach and appetite and make a choice to not put any more food on your plate. Humans have been using comparison since our existence, basically. Our ancestors back in the day will be able to compare how big an animal was running toward them compared to how big they were or how many people they had with them, and they made a choice whether to run away or kill it. Comparison by itself can be a useful tool, but it's when we compare ourselves to other people and we place a lesser value on ourselves and what we have and don't have, that's the problem. Especially if you're looking at somebody on Instagram or social media and you see the success and the loving family photos and the vacations and the money and the pure happiness, because what they're showing you are their highlights, not the lowlights. Even with me, I post a lot on social media, and I have to. I have to promote myself. I have to constantly bring awareness to all the things I got going on, because if I didn't, you better believe with how much content the average person consumes on a daily basis, I can get lost in the scrolling, right? People's attention spans are so much shorter these days. So if I don't post often, people just wouldn't know what I have going on. And I had to find this out the hard way. I can post about a song I released 20 times, and I still would have folks who are close friends of mine who either didn't see it, who didn't see any of the posts, or just didn't get around to hearing the song for whatever reason. Well, not for whatever reason. They're distracted. And it wasn't until I learned this stat that it takes a person an average of 30 times for them to see something on social media before they engage with it. 30 times. So I have to think of it that way. I have to post about something 30 times before somebody will actually even click on it to bring that awareness. So needless to say, I post a lot lately. And because I post a lot, I'm getting really good at my editing and good at marketing. And in the back of my mind, because I'm only putting out the best edited material, I think of all the folks who might be noticing how my material, how my marketing, visually, it looks good. But what they don't see is the years it took me to get to that point, to get that good. Because when I first started out, man, I look back at some of those things that I posted back then, and it's so cringeworthy, because I started off editing my own music videos to promote my music because I couldn't afford to pay somebody else to do it for me, so I did it myself. And thank God I did, because it forced me to really hone in on this skill. Anyway, my point is, I do it too. I'm one of the ones that only put out the highlights, and I'm telling you this because if you follow me on social media, you might see my content. Just know that I've been doing this for a long time. I've made thousands of pieces of content. So please don't compare your posts to what I post and the things that I make. Not saying that because I think I'm so much better than you at posting, but because if you haven't been doing it for years and you ain't made thousands of pieces of content, then it's not fair to yourself to compare yourself to somebody who has. Same thing with that person who's only been working out for 5 weeks. It ain't fair for them to compare themselves to somebody who's been working out for a decade. We just have to go through each chapter of our life. And one of my favorite phrases I use is, don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. So if I'm looking at my podcast and I'm not even at 200 episodes yet, I can't compare myself to somebody who's made 6,000 podcast episodes. That's not fair. If you started selling your own clothing or whatever service you sell for your business, you can't compare yourself to where you are now, newly starting out, to somebody who's been doing it, who's owned their business for over a decade. Knock that off. That ain't fair. Another quote I like is, and it goes along with the first quote, is, you'll never be a graceful master until you first become a foolish beginner. Is there a good chance that you're going to look foolish in the beginning when you first start? Yep, you will. Will you look like you've been doing it for 10 years when you first start? Nope, you won't. And unfortunately, people are too afraid to go through that foolish beginner stage. Or what they do is they do it for a week or a month and they get discouraged when they realize they're not a master at it. What's up? I want to take a quick moment to say thank you so much for listening to this episode, and to also let you know that this podcast is 100% donation driven, which means it's completely funded by you, the listener. So if you like the content I have to offer, I would love it if you can make a donation and you get to pick the amount. I left links in the description of the video as well as my homepage. You can choose which way benefits you the best to donate. And if you need more options, please feel free to email me at dariusdotch@gmail.com. That's DARIUSDOTCH@gmail.com. Again, thank you so much for being here, and let's get back to it. And what they do is they run that business for 2 months and they feel like they haven't made enough money yet. They go to the gym for 2 months and get discouraged because they don't see any progress yet. They take piano lessons and think they should be able to play great after 2 months. And they compare themselves to people who've been doing it for way longer than they have. And they allow that to give them justification to their thoughts of not being an expert. When what they should be doing is taking one step at a time and saying, hey, I'm only going to compare myself to myself and try and do better than I did last week. Try and string days and weeks together of me doing it. Because a week ago, I wasn't doing any of this. But hey, now I put it in 3 days in a row. Or I've been going steady with this for a whole 2 weeks. Eventually, I'll get to where those other folks are. But right now, I'm only getting better at what I'm getting better at. And that's getting better at who I am and who I was. Just because you ain't good at that thing right now, it doesn't mean you'll never change it. Comparing yourself to other people's chapter 20 is not going to give you the motivation to take action that you need in order to create the life you want. Compare yourself to yourself. Are you better than you were yesterday? Do you have more knowledge? Are you taking more steps? Are you in a better position? Do you have more progress than you did last week? Are you getting better? The question shouldn't be, am I where they are? No. And the funny part about this is we already know this, right? We know this from experiences. We can look back at life And let's say, look back at your 20s and how naive we were back then. We thought we had things figured out. We had pep in our step when it came to making decisions and going after it. We just knew life was going to look exactly how we wanted to by the time we got to our 30s, right? And looking back, the reason we were so naive is because we didn't know any better. But over time, you learn, you gain knowledge, wisdom, you make better decisions, you mature, and you understand life better. And just like you can look back and say, damn, I was a fool in my 20s, it's the same way with going after that goal you're working on right now. If you keep working at it and putting in the work and being consistent, you look back at your growth and see how far you've came, see how much better at it you got. Of course, those folks who are at that chapter 20 or further along than you, it's chapter 20. You can't compare yourself to that, because when you compare, you don't feel better. You feel worse. When you compare yourself to other people or to where you think you should be, it's going to put you in the wrong mental space. And that is not going to help you in any positive way. Comparison brings on that feeling of lack, that I don't have enough. I don't have as much. I didn't go as far. And if you're not careful, that can bring up feelings of resentment and jealousy, really. And that's not the energy you want. That energy doesn't attract. It pushes away those things you want, not pull them toward you. What we should be doing is understanding that we have our own lane, our own path. Our journey is not going to be the same as anybody else's. It just won't. And by looking at where they are and where you're not, you're robbing yourself of celebrating how far you've come. And again, that negative energy doesn't attract. You should be happy for that person and congratulating them, and all the while working on yourself. Which energy do you think is going to be the better one, or the energy that's going to bring the things you want in life to you? Being resentful, comparing yourself in a negative way to other people, being mad they have the things that they're in the places you wish you were, or you being genuinely happy for seeing that person win, congratulating them, cheering them on, and focusing on your own path and improving it. Focus on improving yourself. Which energy do you think will attract what you want? And you know what that answer is. You have to realize things take time, one foot in front of the other. It's cliche, but slow and steady wins the race. Things are going to happen as they happen. Allow yourself to release that restrictive energy of needing to see all these large strides and progress right now. Because goals take three things. They take direction, they take action, and they take time. Are you headed in the right direction? Are you taking action? And are you allowing time to do its thing? Are you patient? Are you taking steps towards your goal? Are you headed in the right direction you're supposed to be going in? And are you letting time take its course? You're on your own path, in your own race. Do it for you. So that's what I got for you today. If you like this episode, please share it with somebody that can benefit from this, somebody who is a friend or a family member, somebody who has goals and is trying to improve their lives. So thank you again, and let's get it in.